India has been always conscious of that what more can be done to improve climate because it is in their ethos, it is in their culture, but at the same time, it is emitting CO2 also, which may not be or which is not good for the climate. So, based on that, various Indian cement companies have taken target in one way or other and have given commitment to themselves also as well as to their stakeholders that these are the actions which we will be taking in time to come so that ultimately this hard-to-abate sector can be possible to abate sector.
Till now, India has done a remarkable progress in its renewable journey, and we have developed a robust market in the renewable sector. BeanCo has been aggressive in terms of developing renewable capacity across all sources of the renewable power generation. We are focusing right now on the pump storage capacities, which is essential for the further integration of renewable into our grid. This is not only essential to keep our pace of renewable addition into our grid, but also in terms of enhancing the safety and security of our grid. Now, next focus is on meeting the demands of hard-to-abate sectors.
At Ultratech, we have been steadily increasing our renewable share. We are using solar, wind and hybrid for meeting our energy requirements. Of course, with this improvement in round-the-clock power technology, we should be able to even increase further our share of renewables. Apart from the power requirements, the renewables can also be used in our process side. Of course, we do require some technological advancements for high temperature applications. We do think that the energy transition which is happening from now to 2030, where we need to follow this energy conservation bill, we do think that it will significantly accelerate the process of using renewables in cement sector.
The demands of the businesses are increasing in terms of we have to shift not only to focus on RE, but it has to be a firm, stable, dispatchable, round-the-clock demand following supply. And the only element, the most critical element today that one needs to enable that is the grid-scale storage. Hence, India needs to put more focus on that, I think, in the remaining time, and that will only enable the achievement of our NDCs.
A lot of commitment when it comes to affordable housing, and developing affordable housing for many people here in India needs to be done in a sustainable manner. The Lighthouse project is a good segue into showing what can be demonstrated in a sustainable way, which incorporates climate responsive design, energy efficiency and renewable energy integration into the built environment. Corporates have a huge role to play when it comes to climate action, but the starting point is committing to climate action through taking science-based targets and goals for carbon neutrality with set timelines which aligns with the NDCs.
At GCCA, the goal and the purpose of the organization, we have adjusted the strategy last year, and the first purpose is about the net zero transition. So our mission is fundamentally to get and to accompany the cement sector, the cement and concrete sector, into the transition. So what do we do for that? And how do we actually help accelerating and help deploying the net zero discussion across the world? Well, first thing, I think it's the roadmap, as you said. I mean, this is a question of pathway. This is how do we make it happen, identifying the key decarbonization levels so that we have in common an understanding of what are the subjects that are fundamental, how big every levels contribute, on what should happen in the next 10, 20, 30 years, what should happen in order to make the net zero 2050 a reality. So that's an important part, and that's what I would call the definition of the pathway.
The whole net zero transition for industries like ours, which are called as hard to abate, there is tremendous amount of reskilling required. Our own operations guys or the manufacturing guys, they are trying to focus on products which are low carbon products. So there they need to understand what kind of waste material they need to go and scout for. So all of this transition or the big change or big shift which we are going through requires a different kind of mindset for our people, and then our organizations are investing a lot in terms of coming up with new training modules specifically on decarbonization and sustainability.
The open innovation, which is basically a startup accelerator. You have a lot of innovators outside of the industry, people that are dedicated their life to understanding and try to accelerate the decarbonization discussion. And these people need to have access to in the industry to make sure that they test their idea. We call that a startup accelerator, because between it's basically in the innovation jargon we say technical readiness level 3 and technical readiness level 5, an area where people are losing a lot of time on risk their startup. And what we are doing here is we are presenting the startup to the industry to make pilots, to test ideas, and therefore to really prove and accelerate the reality of innovation on this development. The fourth thing is probably what I would call the sharing of good practice and the sharing of technology.
The decarbonization in the steel industry will happen in two distinct phases. The first phase has to be how the efficiency of the existing technology can be utilized to the maximum extent so that the emissions are reduced. Because you know the steel industry is capital intensive industry, so the investment that has come has a lifetime. The second part has to happen in penetrating the breakthrough technology which will be commercially viable after some time. So when we maximize the efficiency of the existing technology, we need to invest in the breakthrough technology such as hydrogen reduction or carbon capture, utilization and storage in a big way, so that becomes viable as we progress.
Help in terms of coming up with new technology, coming up with new business models, and also creating markets. Creating markets for low carbon products or low embodied products will require collaboration in terms of changing the whole ecosystem, which is the upstream ecosystem, while companies build the pipeline of green products, but the whole market readiness also has to be there. So there is great opportunity for collaborations and partnerships, which could be within sector, which could be across sectors.
Incentivize the production of the low carbon cement products, and the journey through the transition is to promote the green procurement of the low carbon products to the public sector and the government companies. They need to come forward and encourage the industry to produce the low carbon, create that pull and the suction, so that the industry, they are doing their bit, but it is just that this emphasis on the low carbon products, the procurement of the low carbon products is going to further accelerate the transition.
Initially, it requires policy support in terms of having a uniform definition of green steel, and creating a demand for low emission steel will go in a big way. The second support what is required is research and development for the new technology to become viable.
We need more policy support in terms of policy certainty. We should give a clear certainty in terms of the rules of the game, the incentives, the market demand, the incentives for accessing the outside abroad market, and also the technology partnership. The government needs to play a facilitator role in terms of enabling those kind of partnerships and access to the market.
We are in that constant touch with the academia, and also we have a good R&D center at Ranchi who is working on that. And finally, we are quite confident that we can generate and we can have the technology available for the reducing the carbon footprint.
Scenario analysis is a tool to help companies understand how they might react in different futures, different potential outcomes. And As an investor, if you look at the business and you see that they have looked at different outcomes and possibilities, and they are ready for those eventualities, they have processes in place to manage those risks, then you know that you are investing in a business that is likely to provide a good return for you. Investor confidence is built on trust, and for that you need to make sure that your information is reliable, it's accurate, and it's, of course, it's consistent and comparable, so that whether you're a business from India, whether you're a business from another country, an investor can look at your information and they can compare, and they know that they are looking at comparable information, that they can make their decisions.
First of all, a huge congratulations for India for taking such a proactive approach to bringing in mandatory reporting on sustainability issues. It's so important we get started now and move at pace. I'm from the International Sustainability Standards Board, and we're trying to set a global baseline for consistent, comparable, decision-useful information on sustainability information that we hope can be adopted in India and be interoperable with further requirements that the existing approaches to reporting require. My advice to SEBI and others is to adopt the standards, to bring them into regulation and enforce them in India over the next 5 years. My advice to companies is to get started on a voluntary basis. Start now, start preparing, and report to as high a standard as you can as soon as possible. This will help move capital, create more resilient businesses, and a better outcome for everyone.
Of course, the corporates need to look at this carbon market issue a little with a little seriousness, because the kind of financial infrastructure which has to be built for the future will depend a lot on how the carbon market decisions are taken.
People are trying to meet together, act together, create coalitions and create alliances so that they can work together. Though everything would not come as per expectation, but at the same time, such atmosphere, such actions by many of the countries, many of the organizations, many of the leaders is giving me particularly hopes that future would be better.
So from COP27, we are trying to learn the latest developments. We are also following the partnerships, the people who can be involved in our energy goals.
Robert Swan, he said, the biggest threat to our this planet is our belief that someone else will save. We definitely should come out of this syndrome, and we should aim that everything is done in a very expeditious way, and this fruit of and the benefit of this R&D works in the field of breakthrough technologies are made available to the developing economies at a scale it is suited.
And this year, every conversation I've had are action-focused outcomes, whether that be a bilateral conversation with a minister or with a big business group. Everything has been about action together and cooperation this year, and that makes me really excited for the future ahead.
We had a lot of discussions about what is the main message of this COP, and I think to me is get started, keep going. We have the Paris Agreement, we know where we need to go, we just need to get going now. And all the wonderful initiatives that are being discussed this week are tools to help you do that. So get started, get going.